Have you ever looked at a blood donation card and wondered why a few small letters could make doctors pay closer attention than most people realize today? Maybe someone once told you your blood type was rare and the conversation ended there, leaving quiet questions that never seemed important enough to ask. For millions of people, type B negative is simply a medical label used during emergencies, surgeries, or blood donations. Nothing more than everyday healthcare information. Yet, researchers studying human genetics noticed that blood groups sometimes preserve tiny clues about ancient migrations that written history never recorded with complete certainty. That does not mean your blood can reveal your destiny, your personality, or a secret civilization hidden from the world, despite countless dramatic stories shared online. Instead, scientists became interested because blood types, together with DNA, can help trace how populations moved, mixed, and survived across thousands of challenging years. Imagine standing beside an ancient trading route where families crossed mountains, rivers, deserts, and frozen valleys, carrying traditions long before maps described those distant landscapes. Those travelers left behind more than broken pottery, weathered tools, or forgotten settlements. They also passed genetic markers from one generation to the next. Today, advanced DNA analysis allows researchers to compare living populations with ancient human remains, creating a clearer picture of humanity's long and complicated journey. Some discoveries confirmed what historians had suspected for decades, while others quietly challenged ideas once accepted without much debate inside the scientific community. One unexpected pattern involved the distribution of certain blood groups, including the uncommon combination known today as type B negative in different regions worldwide. The pattern did not point toward mystery alone. Instead, it suggested that history might be more connected than borders, languages, or modern nations often imply. Still, every discovery raised another question because no single blood type belongs to only one civilization, one culture, or one ancient community across Earth's history. Evidence showed movement instead of isolation, revealing generations of encounters, trade, conflict, marriage, survival, and adaptation between people separated by enormous distances in time. That realization transformed blood from a simple hospital classification into another valuable piece of evidence, helping researchers reconstruct humanity's forgotten paths with greater confidence. Archaeologists uncovered ancient burial sites, while geneticists examined fragile DNA preserved inside bones, each discovery adding another small piece to an unfinished historical puzzle. Sometimes the genetic evidence matched archaeological expectations almost perfectly, while other times it revealed surprising connections between populations previously believed to have remained completely separate. Researchers emphasize that DNA answers many questions, but it also exposes new mysteries, reminding us that science grows stronger by questioning its own conclusions. So why does one rare blood type continue appearing within larger conversations about migration, ancestry, and the survival of ancient human communities across changing landscapes? And if modern DNA has truly uncovered something remarkable about type B negative blood, what exactly did scientists discover that history alone could never fully explain? Long before laboratories could examine DNA, people traveled across continents carrying invisible genetic markers that quietly passed from parents to children through countless generations. More than 10,000 years ago, small communities followed changing climates, searching for water, fertile land, wild animals, and plants that could support growing families. These journeys were not planned on maps because maps did not exist, yet every decision slowly shaped the genetic landscape visible in human populations today. Archaeologists have uncovered campsites, stone tools, and ancient graves stretching from Central Asia toward Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Eastern Asia. Each discovery tells a simple human story about survival, adaptation, cooperation, and movement rather than isolated civilizations living forever behind invisible boundaries. Evidence suggests many early groups exchanged goods, shared knowledge, and sometimes formed families together, allowing cultural traditions and genetic traits to spread naturally. Among those inherited traits were the genes responsible for human blood groups, although ancient people had no understanding of blood compatibility or modern medicine. Thousands of years later, scientists noticed that certain blood types appeared more frequently in particular regions, raising questions about ancient migration patterns. Type B blood became especially interesting because its highest frequencies appeared across parts of Central Asia, northern India, Mongolia, and neighboring regions throughout history. Historians believe these areas served as important crossroads where traders, herders, and travelers connected distant cultures across mountains, grasslands, and expanding trade networks. As communities mixed through marriage and migration, genetic characteristics slowly spread without anyone realizing they were leaving biological evidence for future generations. However, type B negative remained much rarer because it combines two inherited characteristics, the B blood group and the Rh negative factor inherited independently. That unusual combination encouraged researchers to ask whether ancient migration alone explained its distribution or whether additional historical events also influenced its rarity. Archaeological evidence points toward repeated waves of movement rather than one massive migration that completely reshaped the populations living across Eurasia. Some families settled permanently beside rivers, while others continued traveling with livestock, carrying languages, traditions, technologies, and inherited genes into unfamiliar territories. Ancient trade routes later connected these distant communities, allowing people, ideas, and biological ancestry to travel much farther than historians once imagined. The famous Silk Road eventually linked civilizations across thousands of kilometers, but genetic exchange had already been happening long before organized trade reached its peak. Researchers caution that blood type alone cannot identify someone's ancient homeland because human history includes thousands of years of mixing between neighboring populations. Instead, blood groups become meaningful when combined with archaeological discoveries, historical records, and modern DNA evidence collected from ancient human remains. This broader approach has helped scientists reconstruct migration stories with greater confidence while avoiding conclusions based on only one inherited biological characteristic. Some ancient skeletons have preserved enough DNA for careful analysis, revealing surprising relationships between populations once believed to have remained completely unrelated. Other remains produced incomplete genetic information, reminding researchers that many chapters of early human history remain hidden beneath soil, time, and natural decay. Every excavation answers one historical question while creating several new ones, encouraging scientists to continue searching for overlooked connections across ancient landscapes. As genetic technology improved, researchers realized that the greatest clues about type B negative would not come from history books alone, but from DNA itself. Modern genetics begins with a simple truth. Every person inherits one ABO blood gene from each parent, creating familiar blood groups. Type B blood appears when a person inherits at least one B variant, while Rh negative depends on a separate inherited genetic system. Researchers discovered these two systems developed independently, explaining why type B negative remains significantly rarer than common blood type combinations worldwide. Large DNA studies compare thousands of living people with ancient human remains, searching for patterns across continents and different historical periods. These comparisons reveal migration routes more clearly than blood type alone, because complete genomes preserve much deeper records of shared ancestry. Scientists found that populations constantly mixed through trade, marriage, conflict, and migration, making modern ancestry far more complex than early theories suggested. Evidence suggests the Rh negative trait probably became more common through ordinary inheritance, population isolation, and genetic chance rather than extraordinary historical events. Researchers continue debating exactly where Rh negative first became established, because available ancient DNA still covers only a small fraction of human history. Meanwhile, type B blood followed different historical pathways, becoming more frequent across parts of Asia before spreading through later population movements. When both inherited traits appear together, they create type B negative, a combination that attracts attention mainly because of its uncommon frequency. Medical researchers value this rarity for practical reasons, especially during blood donations, emergency transfusions, and maintaining balanced supplies inside modern hospitals. Geneticists emphasize that having type B negative does not prove someone belongs to one ancient civilization or possesses unusual biological abilities. Instead, DNA evidence shows every individual carries ancestry shaped by countless generations, each contributing small pieces to today's genetic diversity. Every newly sequenced ancient genome strengthens some historical ideas while challenging others, reminding scientists that evidence continues changing with every remarkable archaeological discovery. The greatest revelation was never that type B negative hides a secret, but that DNA reveals humanity has always been deeply connected across time. Looking back, the greatest discovery was never that type B negative belongs to extraordinary people, but that every bloodline preserves human history. Each inherited gene represents countless parents, children, journeys, and survival decisions stretching across thousands of years before modern civilization recorded their names. DNA has given researchers remarkable tools. Yet every answer arrives beside fresh questions waiting beneath archaeological sites and newly recovered ancient human remains. Scientists continue discovering forgotten settlements, improving laboratory techniques, and expanding genetic databases that make historical reconstructions increasingly accurate every passing year. Future discoveries may refine today's understanding because science welcomes stronger evidence instead of protecting ideas simply because they have existed for decades. That careful approach separates reliable research from dramatic stories, claiming blood types alone reveal hidden powers or mysterious ancient identities without convincing evidence. For someone with type B negative blood, the real story is already fascinating without adding myths unsupported by genetics or archaeological discoveries. Your blood reflects ordinary biological inheritance, yet that inheritance connects you with generations who crossed changing landscapes before written history even existed. Some survived harsh winters, others crossed dry grasslands, while many built families beside rivers that later became centers of ancient civilizations. Their choices, struggles, and resilience quietly shaped the genetic diversity shared by billions of people living across the world today. Modern hospitals value type B negative because compatible blood donations can become critically important during emergencies, requiring carefully matched transfusions for patients. That practical importance reminds us that genetics influences modern medicine just as much as it helps researchers understand humanity's distant historical journey. Every blood donor, regardless of blood type, contributes something meaningful by helping another person survive through knowledge built upon generations of scientific progress. Perhaps the most powerful revelation is not about being different, but realizing every human story eventually connects through shared ancestry and continuous migration. The deeper scientists explore our DNA, the clearer one truth becomes. Humanity's greatest secret was never separation, but our remarkable connection across time together. If this journey changed how you see your own history, subscribe for more evidence-based documentaries exploring the remarkable stories hidden within humanity's shared past.